Hello, views of the future. Welcome back. Or let's continue onwards. Yeah, heard it. It's not the best. Definitely not. If I'll, there are some Terry Pratchett Discworld book movies. If I ever get the chance to show you one of the movies which has death in it, they did a very good job of his voice, and I wish I could do it justice, but I really can't. I'm trying my best, but it's not gonna be going well. Anyways, let's start our conversation with death all over again. Rincewind, Death said, in tones as deep and heavy as the slamming of laden doors far underground. Said Rincewind, trying to back away from that eyeless stare. But what are you doing? Blah. But why are you here? Boom, boom, went cryptolids in the worn, hunted fastness under old mountains. Why not? Said Rincewind. Anyways, I'm sure you've got lots to do, so if you'll just... I was surprised that you jostled me, Rincewind, for I have an appointment with thee this very night. Oh no, not... Of course, what's so bloody vexing about... I forgot he said that, okay. Of course, but what's so bloody vexing about the whole business is that I was expecting to meet thee in Pestropolitis. Peshopolilis. City name. But that's 500 miles away. You don't have to tell me. The whole system's got screwed up again. I can see that. Look, there's no chance of you... Rincewind backed away, hands spread protectively in front of him. The dried fish salesman on a nearby stall watched this madman with interest. Not a chance! I could lend you a very fast horse. No! It won't hurt a bit. No! Rincewind turned and ran. Death watched him go, and shrugged bitterly. Sod you, then, Death said. He turned and noticed the fish salesman. With a snarl, Death reached out a bony finger and stopped the man's heart. But he didn't take much pride in it. Then Death remembered what was due to happen later that night. It would not be true to say that Death smiled, because in any case his features were perfect, pre-force frozen in a calculus grin. But he hummed a little tune, cheery as a plague pit, and, pausing only to extract the life from a passing mayfly, and 1/9 of the but he hummed his little tune. Also, the he and the I's are always capital for him. It's but, B-U-T, capital H-E. Hummed a little tune, cheery as a plague pit, and, pausing only to extract the life from a passing mayfly, and 1/9 of the lives from a cat cowering under the fish stall, all cats can see into the ocarine, Death turned on his heels and set off towards the broken drum. Short Street, Moorpork, is in fact one of the longest in the city. Fliggin Street crosses its turnwise end in the manner of a cross piece of a T, and the broken drum is so placed that it looks down the full length of the street. At the furthermost end of Short Street, a dark oblong rose on hundreds of tiny legs. Yeah, that's the right word. And started to run. At first it moved at no more than a lumbering trot, but by the time it was halfway up the street, it was moving arrow fast. A darker shadow inched its way along one of the walls of Broken Drum. A few yards from the two trolls who were guarding the door, Rincewind was sweating. If they heard the faint clicking of the special prepared bags, if they heard the faint clicking of the specially prepared bags at his belt, one of the trolls tapped his colleague on the shoulder, produced a noise like two pebbles being knocked together. He pointed down the starlit street. Rincewind darted from his hiding place, turned, and hurried his burden through the drum's nearest window. And hurled his burden through the drum's nearest window. Yeah, okay. Withal saw it arrive. The bag arced across the room, turned slowly in the air, and burst on the edge of a table. A moment later, gold coins were rolling across the floor, spinning, glittering. The room was suddenly silent, save for the tiny noise of gold and the whimpers of the wounded. With a curse, Withal dispatched the assassin he had been fighting. "It's a trick!" he screamed. "No one move!" 30 men and a dozen trolls froze in a mid-grope. Then, for the third time, the door burst open. 2 trolls hurried through it, slamming it behind them, dropped the heavy bar across it, and fled down the stairs. Outside, there was a sudden crescendo of running feet, and, for the last time, the door opened. In fact, it exploded, the great wooden bar being hurled far across the room, and the frame itself giving way. Door and frame landed on a table, which flew into splinters. It was then that the frozen fighters noticed that there was something else in the pile of wood. It was a box, shaking itself madly to free itself of the smashed timbers around it. Rincewind appeared in the ruined doorway, hurling another of his gold grenades. It smashed into a wall, showering coins. Such a great description. Okay. This is why I love these books and this writer. Down in the cellar, Boardman looked up, muttering to himself, and carried on with his work. His entire winter's supply of candles had already been strewed on the floor, mixing with his store of kindling wood. Now he was attacking a barrel of lamp oil. "Insurance," he muttered. Oil gushed out and swirled around his feet. Withal stormed across the floor. There should be a space there. Withal stormed across the floor, his face a mask of rage. Rincewind took careful aim and caught the thief full in the chest with a bag of gold. But now Ymor was shouting and pointing an accused finger. A raven swooped down from its perch in the rafters and dived at the wizard, talons open and gleaming. It didn't make it. At about the halfway point, the luggage leapt from its bed of splinters, gapped briefly in midair, and snapped shut. It landed lightly. Rincewind saw its lid open again, slightly, just far enough for a tongue, large as a pale leaf, red as mahogany, to lick up a few errant feathers. Yeah, it's got a tongue. At the same moment, the giant candle wheel fell from the ceiling, plunging the room into gloom. Rincewind coiled himself like a spring, gave a standing jump and grasped a beam, swinging himself up into the relative safety of the roof with a strength that amazed him. "Exciting, isn't it?" said a voice by his ear. Down below, thieves, assassins, trolls, and merchants all realized at about the same moment that they were in a room made treacherous of footholds by gold coin and contained something among the sudden menacing shapes in the semi-darkness that was absolutely horrible. I gotta do that line again because I didn't do it justice. I'm reading it too fast. Down below, thieves, assassins, trolls, and merchants all realized at about the same moment that they were in a room made treacherous of footholds by gold coins and contained something among the sudden menacing shapes in the semi-darkness that was absolutely horrible. There you go, that's better. As one, they made for the door, but had 24 different recollections of its exact position. High above the chaos, Rincewind stared at Twoflower. Did you cut the light down? He hissed. Yes. Yes! How come you're up here? I thought I'd better not get in everyone's way. Rincewind considered this. There didn't seem to be much he could say. Twoflower added, "A real brawl, better than anything I'd imagined. Do you think I ought to thank them, or did you arrange it?" Rincewind looked at him blankly. "I think we ought to be getting down now," he said hollowly. "Everyone's gone." He dragged Twoflower across the littered floor and up the steps. They burst out into the tail end of the night. There were still a few stars, but the moon was down, and there was a faint gray glow to rimward. Most importantly, the street was empty. Rincewind sniffed. "Can you smell oil?" he said. Then Withal stepped out of the shadows and tripped him up. Poor Rincewind. All right. At the top of the cellar steps, Boardman knelt down and fumbled in his tinkerbox. It turned out to be damp. "I'll kill that bloody cat," he muttered, and groped for the spare box that was normally on the ledge by the door. It was missing. Boardman said a bad word. A A lighted taper appeared in midair, right beside him.
Here, take this.
Thanks, the roadman said.
Don't mention it.
Boardman went to throw the taper down the steps. His hand paused in midair. He looked at the taper, his brow furrowing. Then he turned around and held the taper up to illuminate the scene. It didn't shed much light, but it did give the darkness a shape. "Oh no," he said. "Oh no," he breathed.
But yes,
said Death. Rincewind rolled. For a moment he thought Withal was going to split him. For a moment he thought Withal was going to spit him where he lay, but it was worse than that. He was waiting for him to get up. "I see you have a sword, wizard," he said quietly. "I suggest you rise, and we shall see how well you use it." Rincewind stood up as slowly as he dared, and drew from his belt the short sword he had taken from the guard a few hours and 100 years ago. It was a short, blunt affair compared to Withal's hair-thin rapier. "But I don't know how to use a sword," he wailed. "Good. You know, wizards can't be killed by edged weapons?" said Rincewind desperately. Withal smiled coldly. "So I have heard," he said. I look forward to putting it to the test." He lunged. Rincewind caught the thrust by sheer luck, jerked his hand away in shock, deflected the second stroke by coincidence, and took the third one through his robes at heart height. There was a clink. Withal's snarl of triumph died in his throat. He drew the sword out and prodded again at the wizard, who was rigid with terror and guilt. There was another clink, and gold coins began to drop out of the hem of the wizard's robe. "So you bleed gold, do you?" hissed Withal. "But have you got gold concealed in that raggedy beard of you little—" And his sword went back for his final sweep, that suddenly As his sword went back for his final sweep, the sullen glow that had been growing in the doorway of the broken drum flickered, dimmed, and erupted into a roaring fireball that sent the walls billowing outward and carried the roof 100 feet into the air before bursting through it in the grout of red-hot tiles. Withal stared at the boiling flames, unnerved, and Rincewind leapt. He ducked under the thief's sword arm and brought his own blade around in an arc so incompetently misjudged that it hit the man flat first and jolted out of the wizard's hand. Sparks and droplets of flaming oil rained down as Withal reached out with both gauntleted hands and grabbed Rincewind's neck, forcing him down. "You did this!" he screamed. "You and your box of trickery!" His thumb found Rincewind's white windpipe. This is it, the wizard thought. Wherever I'm going, it can't be worse than here. "Excuse me," said Twoflower. Rincewind felt the grip loosening, and now Withal was slowly getting up, a look of absolute hatred on his face. A glowing ember landed on the wizard. He brushed it off hurriedly and scrambled to his feet. Twoflower was behind Withal, holding the man's own needle-sharp sword with the point rested in the small of the thief's back. Rincewind's eyes narrowed. He reached into his robe, then withdrew his hand bundled into a fist. "Don't move," he said. "Am I doing this right?" asked Twoflower anxiously. "He said he'll skewer your liver if you move," Rincewind translated freely. "I doubt that," said Withal. "Bet?" "No." As Withal tensed himself to turn on the tourist, Rincewind lashed out and caught the thief on the jaw. Withal stared at him in amazement for a moment, then quickly toppled into the mud. The wizard uncurled his stinging fist, and the roll of gold coins slipped between his throbbing fingers. He looked down at the crumpled thief. "Good grief," he gasped. He looked up and yelled as another ember landed on his neck. Flames were racing along the rooftops on either side of the street. All around him people were hurling possessions from windows and dragging horses from smoking stables. Another explosion in the white-hot volcano that was the drum sent a whole marble mantelpiece synthesizing overhead. The Windershin's gate's the nearest," Rincewind shouted above the cackle of collapsing rafters. "Come on!" He grabbed Twoflower's reluctant arm and dragged him down the street. My luggage! Blast your luggage! Stay here much longer and you'll go where you don't need luggage. Come on, screamed Rincewind. They jogged on through the crowd of frightened people leaving the area, while the wizard took great mouthfuls of cold dawn air. Something was puzzling him. I'm sure all the candles went out, he said. So how did the drum catch fire? I don't know, moaned Twoflower. It's terrible, Rincewind. We were getting along so well, too. Rincewind stopped in astonishment, so that another refugee cannoned into him and spun away with an oath. Getting on? Yeah, a great bunch of fellows. I thought language was a bit of a problem, but they were so keen for me to join their party. They just wouldn't take no for an answer. Really friendly people, I thought. Rincewind started to correct him, then realized he didn't know how to begin. It'll be a blow for old Broadman, Twoflower continued. Still, he was wise. I've still got the rim he paid for as his first premium. Rincewind didn't know the meaning of the word premium, but his mind was working fast. You insured the drum? He said. You bet Boardman it didn't want to catch fire? Oh yes, standard validation. 200 rim. Why do you ask? Rincewind turned and stared at the flames racing towards them, and wondered how much of Ankh-Morpork pork could be bought for 200 rim. Quite a large piece, he decided. Only not now. Not the way these flames were moving. He glared down at the tourist. You, he began, and searched his memory for the worst word of Trob tongue. The happy little betrolls didn't really know how to swear properly. You, he repeated. Another hurrying figure bumped into him, narrowly missing him with the blade over its shoulder. Rincewind's tortured temper exploded. You little... Such a one who, while wearing a copper nose ring, stands in foot bath atop Mount Ra-Ru-Ru-Ha during a heavy thunderstorm and shouts that Aloha, goddess of lightning, has the facial features of a diseased, unhealthy root.
Just doing your job,
said the figure, stalking away. Every word fell as heavy as slabs of marble. Moreover, Rincewind was certain that he was the only one who heard them. He grabbed Twoflower again. Let's get out of here, he suggested. So yeah, that's how the city got on fire. That was in the prologue. All because of Twoflower, the idiot. Not really an idiot, but, you know. One interesting side effect of fires in Ankh-Morpork concerned the insurance policy, which left the city, which left the city through the ravaged roof of the broken drum, was wafting high into the Discworld atmosphere on the ensuring thermal, and came to Earth several days and a few hundred miles away on the Aloha brush in the betrolled island. The simple, laughing island subsequently worshipped it as God, much to the amusement of their more sophisticated neighbors. Strangely enough, the rainfall and harvest in the next few years were almost supernaturally abundant, and this led to a research team being dispatched to the island by the Minion Religion Facility of Unseen University. There, their verdict was that it only went to show. What? Oh, okay. The policy paper, which left the city through the ravaged hole of the broken drum, was left. So the paper that he got saying that this is what insures your company, blah blah blah, got through the roof to the betrothed island, and then they found it and worshipped it as if it was a god, which made other people nearby, because it's close to the counterweight continent. That made their partners laugh at them, but they had so the policy became a goddish kind of thing, and like they got their money back, kinda. It's a weird way of saying it, but I could read that sentence again, but I just read it correctly, so read it. Go listen to it again if you can get a better understanding, and if you can, send it to me. Comment. The fire, driven by the wind. Driven by the wind, spread out from the drum faster than a man could walk. The timbers of the window gate were already on fire when Rincewind, his face blistered and rendered reddened from the flames, reached them. By now he and Twoflower were on horseback. Mounts hadn't been that hard to obtain. A wily merchant had asked 50 times their worth, and had been left gaping when 1,000 times their worth had been pressed into their hands. They rode through just before the first of the big gate timbers descended in an explosion of sparks. Moorpork was already a cauldron of flames. As they galloped up the red-lit road, Rincewind glanced sideways at his traveling companion, currently trying hard to learn to ride a horse. Bloody hell, he thought. He's alive. Me too. Who'd have thought it? Perhaps there is something in this reflected sounds of underground spirits? It was a cumbersome phrase. Rincewind tried to get... I'll finish this one. Okay. Who'd have thought, bloody hell, he thought. He's alive. Me too. Who'd have thought it? Perhaps there is something in this reflected sound of underground spirits. Spirits? It was a cumbersome phrase. Rincewind tried to get his tongue around the thick syllables that were the words in Twoflower's own language. Echo lyrics, he tried. Echogonormix? Echogonormix? That would do. That sounds about right. Alright. That's another thing I don't get. I'm gonna have to look that up. Alright. Actually, I could probably look that up really quickly. Let's see if there's a thing that's not called, and I'm just being dumb and don't realize it. Hold on! We're gonna go on a learning journey. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Echo. No. No, not B. Next. Oh, okay. No! Okay, so it's supposed to be economics, just they spell it weird here because that's what Rincewind's saying. But I put in echogonormics, and I will show you. Let me see if it'll load up. No, it won't load up. Really? Yeah, you can kind of see it. Yeah. So I put echogonormics. Again, not very thing. But Twoflower is the first one you see. It's the first thing that comes up. It's great. He tries to introduce economics. That's what it's supposed to be. Economics. To Moorpork, which then causes it to go up in flames. So, yeah. I'm just happy that's kind of a thing. Alright. Anyways, so, dive through the book. Shh, don't tell Mom. Well, she'll see this, but shh, don't tell my mom. She just bought this book. That's been Color of Magic. I hope I brought a smile to your face. So they have now fled the city, and we've caught up to the point in the prologue. So if I remember correctly, we'll be talking and continuing from where the prologue. So that was all like a big, huge flashback of how they met and all that jazz. Now we'll be dealing with the future and, stuff like that. Which doesn't really change how they write anything or anything like that, but it does, understand some stuff. Anyways, like I said, I've been Endragh. I hope I brought a smile to your face, and I will see you tomorrow night. Night-night, guys.